Hi Scrubs, I hope you're well. So we're back with Horse Reality now. Marigold has had a new foal, which I want to go and check out, but before we do that I want to have a look at the characteristics here in the wiki for Horse Reality. So horses in Horse Reality consist of various characteristics. Each horse consists of +/-50 genes. All of them together determine which colour the horse is, how healthy it is, and how it performs in shows and competitions. So all characteristics are divided into 4 groups, and each characteristic consists of 2 alleles. Now if you're not familiar with alleles, I'm just going to give you an example. So if we have a look here at Marigold's colours and modifiers, okay? So basically alleles are different forms of a gene, and basically in Horse Reality you have the dominant one, which is in uppercase. In this case, for example, with this extension one, it's capital E, and then the lowercase denotes a recessive gene. So for grey here, okay, this horse has got 2 small G's, which means it's got 2 recessive ones, so it means it doesn't carry grey. So that's just a really brief example, but hopefully that kind of gives you a bit of an idea. So colour genetics, to determine the colour of the horse, you've got phenotype, which is conformation used to determine scores in competitions and conformation shows. Then we have genetic potential used to determine scores in competitions. So obviously I know a really long time ago now, well, it wasn't really that long ago, but a couple of episodes back we had a look at competitions and how different skills are going to impact how your horse does in competitions. So if your horse has got really good genetic potential in the right places, it's more likely going to do well in that competition. Obviously it's kind of similar to horse in that regard, in that you know, where the horse has good genetic potential, if it matches up with the competition type, the horse is probably going to do reasonably well. Obviously horse does not have the colour genetics and a lot of other things that this game does, but in terms of the genetic potential you can kind of see some similarities. Now if we go back here, we have the health, so used for breeding and the general health condition of horses. So on Horse Reality we've got these colic resistance, hoof quality, back problems, respiratory disease, and resistance to lameness. So this horse, we can see it's got excellent in 3 of those and then just good in 2. So if we look at the next bit, which is colour genetics, so most of the colour genetics are available after testing, and be aware that you can only test genes that have tests available for them in reality, so in real life. So let's take flaxen as an example. There is no test available for flaxen in real life, which means you cannot test for it in Horse Reality either. Even though there's no test available for it, you can see it on the horse as a blonde mane and tail, and this means there can be some hidden genes that you don't know of, so be sure to keep an eye out for them. So obviously if you're like, I don't know what that is, you just need to go into the Horse Reality wiki and have a look at the colour genetics. For example, down here where you can see in the modifiers we've got flaxen, and if you click on that then you can see more information about it. Now if we go back in here to characteristics, the next part is phenotype. So the phenotype of a horse is used to determine how good looking and moving the horse is. When you go to a horse's achievements page and check its conformation, you get a global view of those stats. So at the moment of writing this phenotype, statistics are divided into 5 groups. So if they have under 40, that means they're per. If they've got between 40 and 59 points, that means they're below average. Average is between 60 and 69 points. Good is 70 to 84 points, and very good is plus 85 points. So basically if we go back here over to Marigold, we're going to click on achievements here, so we can see in the conformation that would indicate to us, for example, that she's got, for neck and a back and her posture, that means that she's got at least 85 plus points in those areas. But in all the other ones she's only got good, because it's going to be between 70 and 84 points, which we can see here in all the other areas, excluding those 3 very goods. So these stats are visible at birth. So if we go to Marigold's foal, this is Marigold's foal here, and if we click on achievements, we can see in her conformation, we can see all of those right there. So these stats are visible at birth, and after a horse's first conformation show, they will be tested on several traits: walk, trot, canter, gallop, posture, head, neck, back, shoulders, front legs, hindquarters, and stocks. Once the show's awards ceremony has concluded, you'll be able to see the results on their page. When entering a horse show, there will be an extra few things to take into account. You can find more information about it here. So obviously we had a look at that. We had a look at conformation shows not long ago. So if you need to see anything more there, you can do so. So the next part is genetic potential. So there are 10 genes that determine a horse's genetic potential, which is basically the sports foundation of your horse. Your horse will be good in certain discipline when he has a good set of genes that are needed for the selected discipline. So that's what we were kind of mentioning earlier. So each trait consists of 2 alleles. When you breed your horse, the foal will always have 1 allele of the dam and 1 allele of the sire for each trait, with a variation of a few points. This means that the foal could have better or worse traits than the parents depending on which alleles the foal receives. It might be a completely different outcome than you expected. So we've got acceleration, agility, balance, bascule, pulling power, speed, sprint, stamina, strength, and sure-footedness. So if we go back to Marigold here and we click on genetics, we can see those, and those are the ones that impact competitions the most. So after that we've got health. So at the moment health is not really taken into account yet, and the only part where health is checked is when you're breeding with your horses. You can take your horse to the veterinarian to reveal their stats for the following factors. So, fertility. One of the factors taken into account for pregnancy success rates is the quality of the stallion's semen. Depending on what his stats are, the chance of a failed pregnancy can be greater. I actually did really notice this because there was one particular stallion that I was really wanted to use, but every single time I would get a failed pregnancy. So I tried again, I think for the third time with the same horse, because it had colour genetics that I really liked. So this time it looks like it might be okay, but that is something that you will find in this game. It's not like with horse, like when you cover anything on horse, the horse is pregnant. There's never a question about it. Whereas with this, it can, not happen, which is more realistic. So you can find more information in the success rate section of the breeding article. So at this moment, the quality of the stallion semen cannot be tested. So characteristics, the better your horse's health will be, the fewer problems it will have. So we have colic persistence, hoof quality, back problems, respiratory disease, and resistance to lameness, which was something we looked at. So if we click on health here, we can see obviously Marigold's one. Now, we haven't done a health check yet with this foal, so we're going to do that now. So if we go into the vet here, basically we're going to click on health check, and if we go back to that foal, so see, where is she? There, okay. So we can actually see that this foal is actually got slightly better health than the parent does. So if we go back to Marigold here, we can see that Marigold had 2 goods and 3 excellent, whereas this foal has actually got 4 excellents and 1 good. So we can see that there was an improvement there, which is nice to see. Now, the next bit I want to have a look at is achievements here. So obviously this foal right now, I can see that it has 3 very goods, and then we've got 9 goods. So basically what I want to do is note that here. So we got 3 very goods and 9 goods. Okay, so I'll update that. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the laboratory and we're going to test this foal. Now, obviously we don't have to test it for everything. There are some genes that I could actually rule out because of the parents. But I kind of just like testing for everything, which probably sounds a bit daft, but I just do. Even though I know that this foal, by looking at it, won't carry some of these things, but I just kind of do it. To be efficient and to save yourself money, you're probably better not doing that, but I just like testing for the whole thing. That's just the way I've kind of been doing this, because there's certain things I know that I could not test for on this foal. So I'm going to select everything except the breed specific ones. So perform tests. Okay, so we've tested this foal for all the different colors. So if we have a look, we can see that it's got recessive for extension, so it's not going to exhibit any black in its coat. It's got 2 dominant agouti genes. Now in this case, even if it had just had 1 of these, it's going to be chestnut. So we can tell that this foal is chestnut obviously by looking at it, but here we can see that definitively. Now obviously if it had had 1 dominant or 2 dominant here instead of recessive, this foal would actually be bay. Now here we can see that we have 2 small G's, which is going to make it mean that there's going to be no grey, but I knew there wasn't going to be grey on this. Same with cream, wasn't going to be any cream, wasn't going to be any pearl in here. So the next bit is the dun. Now it actually does have 1 copy of a dun gene, so it is carrying that. And the next thing is it is carrying frame and it's carrying Tobiano. It's not carrying any of these, but we kind of didn't expect it to carry any of these anyway. So that is just an overall view. Now obviously this stuff can get quite complex. Like, I'm not dealing with some of the other breeds in the game that can have so many different things, like quarter horses for example. Quarter horses can have a lot of different things, but in that regard this is just a really quick kind of like assessing your foal and so forth. So I'm quite pleased with this foal compared to the parent. Like, Obviously Marigold is also a 3 very good, but we have seen an improvement in this foal's health compared to her. Now the one other thing that we haven't done yet is actually compare their genetic potential. So the foal is 6/115, so we're just going to put that in here. And once we've done that, we're going to have a look at Marigold. So Marigold is 6/27. So in that regard, our foal's worse. But I am not particularly surprised on that because I'm pretty sure, yeah, we used Apricot, who had a lower overall genetic potential, so I did expect to see something in between there. So I'm not disappointed in that regard. And it's actually kind of interesting, because if we have a look at Apricot, for example, in comparison to this foal, let's just click on this, right? So here's Apricot. Okay, so Apricot only had 1 agouti, but he obviously threw his dominant to that foal. So I think this is actually a good thing to kind of explain. Okay, so Marigold has 1 agouti, okay? And she had 1 dominant for her extension, right? And he didn't have either, so either way, he was going to be thrown recessive for that. But the foal got both these dominant agouti genes. So you can see them there. Now if we go down here, he obviously threw his dun gene because Marigold does not have dun. So the foal is the same as the stallion in that regard. And obviously the next bit here is the frame part. The foal got that as well. So you can see down here the foal's exactly the same in that regard. And I know that the mare does not have frame, and I know that she doesn't carry Tobiano as well. So he threw the Tobiano, the dominant, over to the foal as well. So you can kind of go and have a look and see if you're not sure. I think that's a good way, is actually look at the mare, look at the stallion, and see which gene the mare or the stallion threw to produce that foal. I think that's a good thing to do. It'll just kind of give you an overall, you know, look at how that kind of works if you're not sure. But anyway, Scrubs, I hope this was helpful to some of you guys. I know I don't want to go too far into it because I know that there's a lot of information there. If you want to know more, obviously, definitely go in and have a look at the colour genetics in the handbook on the wiki page. But anyway, Scrubs, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you had a lovely day, and bye-bye!